It's 8 o'clock in the morning in Germany. I slept for 3 hours and now I'm doing the Christmas voiceover for my video. What could possibly go wrong? Maybe you are able to guess the theme of today's Christmas video. Yeah, Christmas is one theme. Okay. But I decided to make an pastel iridescent silver-ish angel. Surprise. Because the last Christmas video I made 2 years ago was an angel too, but who cares? For the reroute I choose two quite pastel colors. The one is Andromeda and the other one is Faye from the Doll Planet UK. Just to let you know. And this was because I wanted to give her hair the slightly idea of being iridescent too, without being iridescent, because I wasn't able to find iridescent colors. The same goes for the face. To achieve that, I took out the soft pastels and just put on some color, something greenish, purplish, pinkish and bluish, and then the same colors in quite a darker hue, and I put it both on the body and on the face just to have it a little bit more put together in the end. I also used some shimmery nail art powders, and I was quite aware of the fact that it may fail because MSC makes everything quite matte. Surprisingly, because it's UV cut flat matte, doesn't matter. So the shininess disappeared every time I put a layer of MSC onto it. The slightest bit of glitter stayed, so it had an effect, but it was very, 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 very faint. But it was there, so goal achieved. And because everything was already insanely pastel and light, I thought it would be a good idea to give her white eyes too. And yeah, it turned quite fast into darker and darker eyes because it was quite faint too. And to be honest, I wanted to see at least something from my work on her. The base of the eye I made with white acrylics, and then I shaded everything, and because it wasn't willing to take the colors that well, I made the tips of the watercolor pens I used a little bit wet, and with that I was able to give her some quite nice purplish bluish eyes. And yeah, as I mentioned, her eyeliner turned darker and darker with every step until I used just a teeny tiny bit of black. And yeah, I was quite happy with her eyes up to the moment where I showed this picture to a friend and she told me, "Oh cool, she looks like an 80s character." And yeah, that was the moment where I thought, damn it. Because the 80s are not the prettiest style, I think. Yeah, but I stayed with the bluish eyeshadow anyway. Later I put a little bit of iridescent medium over them, which made them slightly lighter, but not enough to cover all the blue. So maybe she looks a little bit 80s-like. And my camera refused to film the finishing touches in a sharp manner, but I thought, let's just put them in because you deserve them. You maybe deserve them in a not so blurry way. But with all the iridescent stuff laying around, my camera had quite a hard time focusing on the face. Or on the part I was working on, what you will see later too. After a last layer of MSC, it was time to free the hair, and yeah, with some hot water I just boiled it down. Then I gave her a haircut which went quite okay. And yeah, then I thought, the straight hair isn't the prettiest thing for her. So why don't try a method you saw a lot of times and haven't used? And because we had straws laying around for the last 10 years and no one ever used them, I thought, okay, then let's use them today. So I took out some tissue paper and cut the straws in half, and then tried to give her some curls with that. The tissue paper is to hold the ends of the strands of the part of hair in position while you are wrapping them around the straw. It's basically how you make a perm, for example. When I was a hairdresser, that was a basic technique to make a perm. And in the end, it really looked like that. And not a good one. And I have to admit, I do like messy curls. I like it when they are fluffy and like a cloud, and yeah, but in the first moment it was a little bit too much, and then I tried to give her a kind of hairstyle, and there were moments when she looked even more like she escaped the 80s, or no one was kind enough to tell her that the 80s are over. And as I normally do, I panicked at this moment and just tried to glue everything in place and to hide it later with some decorations I made off camera. It worked. In the end, she still has messy curls on the back, but as I mentioned, I kind of like them. And yeah, the 80s vibe was not too bad when I put on the decorations I had in mind. So overall, more or less a success. The worst moment was when I tried to put the last part of hair back and put it into position, and it looked as if she just was wearing a side ponytail made with a scrunchie. Not pretty. Very, very ugly, to be exact. It's kind of funny that even though I am a hairdresser, I'm not able to make doll hair look good. Then it was time to go ham on the body. I first used some flakies, but that didn't work, so I changed it, put the hands into glue, and just put some teeny tiny little rhinestones onto the forearm and hand. And I did this a second time. just to cover them as much as possible. And yeah, then I just took out some glitter and rhinestones and the flakes and put it onto her upper body. The rest of the body didn't really matter because you won't see it, and though the costume will stay in place forever, I couldn't be bothered to do it. I found these quite pretty wings last year, and then when my neighbor died, I was gifted these ornaments and decided I had to use them on a doll. It was quite easy to take them apart and just bend them in shape. And I really liked the aesthetic, but I wanted to have them in silver, so I bent all the shapes and stripped the wings of their glitter with acetone, and then I just sprayed everything silver. Though the wings were quite close to the body, I thought, okay, make a base out of epoxy sculpt and then just try it with some magnets so that you can attach or detach the wings. The magnet thing wasn't working. I later glued in the magnets into her back, and even with 3 magnets in it, it wasn't able to hold the weight of the wings. So I removed the magnets again and put some wooden sticks in it and later glued it onto the body. And with that I could spray the rest of the wings silver too. And it was time for the dress. I found this quite pretty shiny fabric online, and it's a little bit like a plastic bag, but yeah, I thought it's just a little bit too see-through, so let's cover a little bit of her with some white fabric. And first I cut out a circle out of the shiny stuff, and then I cut out not a circle, just a part out of white fabric and burned all the edges because this is 100% plastic, so you don't have to sew anything, you can melt it. And yes, I tried to melt the white and the iridescent fabric together, which wasn't working. So I had to sew it in the end. And then I just sewed a square onto it to have kind of a bodice, and that so that she is mainly covered. I sew the breast armor part onto it, and combined everything for the top armor with some jump rings. Then I decided it is the best idea to put some glue on the bottom part and put rhinestones and glitter flakes and whatever on it to make it even more shiny. And it was a mess, but I completely loved it. Strange. And obviously my camera won't focus again because too much shiny stuff. Then I struggled with dressing her, which you can't really see because I was off camera most of the time. I'm so sorry. But mainly I just used an embroidery thread, put a needle on every end, and then just stitched it through the holes at the side of the kind of armor thing on every side, or on both sides. And then I just pulled them tight and knotted them together so that her top was staying in place and not showing too much of her. Then I more or less ruffled the skirt a little bit with some thread and put on the hip armor thing. So basically the main parts are covered. When I thought about all this with the armor and the see-through fabric, I thought, it could be a little bit too sexy. But surprisingly, in the end, I think it's not that much. You can't see a lot of her body. Most of the parts are covered. You can see a little bit skin through everything, so I'm fine with her. Then it was time to attach her wings to her body, which I did with some E6000 glue, and it was the first time I used it. I'm not sure about it. Yeah, and then I put her hat on and everything, but I did the last steps off camera because I really struggled with putting the hat on and not messing up the curls even more. So you won't see that, but you will see the final result. So I hope you will have a very Merry Christmas in these strange times. That you will find a little bit of hope and joy in this season. And we will see us next time. Bye.